let's talk about another topic that involves business owners, and we call these deal killers. Now, what is a deal killer? Let me talk a little bit about the background of deal killers. In BEI, again, our membership consists primarily of non-financial and insurance advisors, so a lot of people in the M&A world and so on. We had our investment bankers and our high-end business brokers talk to our members about the challenges they faced as transaction intermediaries when they start to work with a business owner through the sale process of their company. So again, an M&A advisor has been retained to help sell an owner's company. What do they see that prevents that sale from being completed? Well, we identified 15 or 16 deal killers, events or occurrences or something that exists in a business that is not discovered until the sale process actually begins. And the purpose of all of this for the benefit of us was to identify those so that we could do something in the pre-sale planning process that would eliminate those deal killers. So what am I talking about? So here are some of the deal killers that they identified. The owner's expectation of value needs to be reconciled with the market's perception of that value before they go to market. So what does that mean in a nutshell? The owner thinks his or her business is worth a lot more than the marketplace thinks it's worth. Because in the third-party sale world, we don't look at a business valuation performed by a business evaluator so much as going out and seeing what a third-party buyer is going to pay for a business today in that geographic area and in that business segment. That's what determines the likely sales price. So the first issue is there's a real misperception on the part of our clients between what the business they think is worth and what the market says it can be sold for. How do we reconcile that? Well, in the exit planning process, step 2 of the process, we determine if it's going to be a third-party sale, which we know from what the owner wants to do in the first step of the planning process, setting goals. We know that we have to determine value in a third-party sales scenario by going out and talking to a broker or an investment banker, depending on deal value, and having them tell us what the business can be sold for, likely sold for today. That is a very important role for you to play. Without doing that, owners are going to go off and think their business is worth a lot more money than it is. They'll either won't do any planning or they'll go forward with the planning and they won't sell their business. That's part of the planning process. Second deal killer. The focus of many owners is on the sales price and not the net proceeds from the sale of a business. For example, a business owner, let's say we can sell the business for $10 million. Well, what is the owner going to walk away with, assuming it's an all-cash sale? What will the owner walk away with after the business is sold? Well, let's start with $10 million. First of all, there's probably going to be transaction costs, especially if you use an investment banker or a business broker. That might be $500,000 or so. That includes legal costs and everything else. Then there's going to be a capital gains tax, assuming it's an S corporation. And there's going to be a capital gains tax of 20% federal, let's say 5% state. Let's say the Obama or the Affordable Health Care tax is about 4%. So we're looking at about a 30% tax on really $9.5 million. So we're left with, let's say, $6.5 million. Then, if there is debt in the business, well, a buyer is not going to be buying debt. They're going to let the owner keep that debt, right? So with the $6.5 million, we're going to have to pay off any bank debt that the company had. And most businesses that have a lot of value also have debt. They use bank financing and other types of financing to grow their business more quickly. It's a smart and intelligent thing to do. So they have debt. Well, that's going to have to be paid off. So if there's $1 million worth of debt, Now the owner is walking away with $5.5 million. That's probably a lot less than they anticipated. It's probably not enough for them to enjoy the kind of financial security they were anticipating or desire. What is our role then? How do we prevent that deal killer? Through pre-sale planning. It's exit planning. We sit down, and you would sit down and you would work with perhaps the CPA, you might work with the M&A professional that you're going to involve, and you will determine before they ever go to market how much they're likely to walk away with. If it's not enough, we grow value. If it is enough, we go to market. It's very important to discover this before we start, because once we're in the sale process, it's often psychologically too late, at least, to stop it. So let's talk about one more deal killer out of, I guess, 20 or so that we could talk about. And that is transferring the business to an insider. Most owners, if you would ask them, gosh, would you like to transfer the business to your management team or a co-owner or maybe even your children? They would say, well, yeah, I am interested in doing that. I'd really like to do that, but I can't. I can't do that because I can't risk selling the business to them and not getting paid. And they don't have any money. So it's a huge risk to sell the business to them. I lose control of the business. I don't get all the value in my company as a result. Risk, control, value. That's what owners think about. That's what they should think about. So that's a deal killer right off the bat. They don't even go down the path they would like to go down for fear of not getting paid. Exit planning, the design of a transfer to an insider, can be designed in such a way that the owner maintains control until he or she gets paid all of their money. Therefore, that reduces the risk of the transfer, and they get the full value of their business. And we do that through a variety of different designs that typically rely upon selling only part of the business or transferring part of the business over a time period, and that is even based upon increasing company performance. So as company performance increases, we're willing to transfer more ownership to the insiders who are going to be growing the business value. So we use tools and techniques like that. We go into a lot of detail on how we do that, and this is not the place for that. But those are some of the deal killers that, again, if you can talk to business owners in advance of them going to the marketplace or in advance of them deciding that's not an appropriate exit path, it's because they don't know there are tools and techniques available that would allow them to accomplish all of their goals, even by transferring to an insider.